The brand new Joker trailer came out and it looked really interesting, but I don't really know what to expect on the reaction of this trailer. Most of the people are very much open to this rather refreshing interpretation of the Joker. What I didn't expect is the nasty and frankly racist individuals out there with their really hot take on this film. I didn't expect that this trailer of all things would prompt this reaction, but well, this life is a comedy after all. But before we get to the comedy, I want to say huge thanks for liking and sharing my videos, subscribing and following me on social media, and for supporting me on Patreon, PayPal, and many other means, links down below. I really don't know what to expect in this Joker trailer, but I do know that since they're going to make an origin story of some sort, they're gonna make the film to feel like a biographical crime thriller rather than a superhero film. And the trailer looks like it's going to go to that direction. It seems to be a biographical crime thriller about a guy who is upset about the state of society. Oh, if he says that meme line, I'm going to go nuts. I'm still rather iffy about the idea of Joker having an origin story, or at least a canon one, or maybe the film goes for a plot twist and say, hey, turns out that this is a story that the Joker tells someone to creep them out. Or maybe the film tells multiple stories that the Joker conjured out of his depraved mind. I don't really know, but I cannot wait for the film to be released so that I can say my thoughts on it. Anyway, we were talking about the hot takes on Joker, and surprisingly, there are a few that just baffles my mind. Is there something about the Joker that truly grinds the gears of the woke people on Twitter?
Joker, a film where you're supposed to sympathize with a mediocre white man radicalized into deranged violence, will no doubt be appealing to the wrong audience for the worst reasons.
Mediocre white man? I don't get what's going on with these woke Twitter takes and their disdain to white men. What does white men do to you to even make this statement?
So I have some thoughts on the new Joker trailer with Joaquin Phoenix. In a time of increasing violence perpetrated by disaffected white men, is it really the best thing to keep making movies that portray disaffected white men doing violence as sympathetic?
Again, with the white men remark, I don't get it. Are you saying we shouldn't make this film just because there are tragedies in real life involving white men being violent? Do you think that white men being violent is something so exclusive that they need to have their own category? If so, why? In before people commenting on black crimes in the comments. What I'm trying to say is, it's fiction. It's a fictional story depicting the origin story of a fictional character. There's nothing wrong with this, but oh no, those evil white men.
I don't think you're a bad person if you think the new Joker flick looks cool. I just think we don't need any more stories about white men who had a bad day, so they decided to hurt people until we get white male terrorists under control in the US.
Oh great, now you're making people in the comments to type in about the disproportionate rate of crimes committed by black people. How can an opinion for a Joker film turn this political? That sounds like a good YouTube clickbait title, Joker Takes Gone Political. And they certainly did with the two articles that I'm gonna talk about for today.
Joker is catnip for Batman's toxic masculinity fandom, a gritty drama about white male outcasts, groundbreaking.
Now you might be asking, why is this writer so racist? That's a very good question, and let me answer by saying that it's from the Daily Dot. Don't expect too much from this publication.
Todd Phillips' Joker is a genius move from the DC movie franchise, not because it looks good, although surprisingly enough it does, but because it was engineered to appeal to a specific type of film, bro.
In other words, not me? The writer of this article?
For the past decade, certain fans have yearned for Batman to be taken seriously, starting with Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy and continuing through Zack Snyder's tenure.
One is good, and the other one is not so good.
This audience's ideal Batman is a violent loner, and they're religiously invested in a mythical Snyder cut of Justice League.
I don't get those people either. Don't lump me in with those.
Any criticism of Nolan's sexism or Snyder's
Whoa, wait a second. Nolan's sexism? Where? Are you talking about the female characters being axed off, or Catwoman being, well, Catwoman?
There's a lot of spiritual overlap here with the kind of film buff who cares deeply about IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes ratings, itself a very gendered priority, and places high value on gritty dramas about tormented white men, The Godfather, Fight Club, etc.
Holy mother of God, that is very racist. And I'm speaking as a brown man. Also, did you just include The Godfather as in a film about Italian immigrants, as in actual minorities? You just dismissed them because they're white, but you didn't realize that they're the same people that you're trying to defend.
Inviting us to sympathize with a white male outcast who descends into violence, it's practically a checklist of traits that DC film bros take seriously. Not an automatically bad idea, but definitely a conservative choice disguised as an original one.
And anything conservative or appeal to white men are automatically bad, right? This would only be more appropriate if I put in the freaking Wojak brainlet meme.
Recent Batman movies are governed by a restrictive brand of masculinity, to the point where Bruce Wayne's adoptive children have been erased from the franchise.
Writer, I didn't like what they did with the Robins, but to say that DC's terrible decisions on Robin is governed by a restrictive brand of masculinity shows that you're way too ingrained in social justice that you see everything as feminist or masculine.
Fatherhood would only distract from Batman's inner torment. Better to excise the softer emotions altogether. The comics and cartoons depict him variously as a detective, a team player, a mentor, and a compassionate protector of Gotham's underclass. These traits are now virtually invisible to the mainstream audiences, overshadowed by Hollywood's addiction to edginess and macho violence.
That or Robin just doesn't really sell well with most people, which is a shame because the best thing about the Batman franchise are his sidekicks. The cartoons and the films haven't managed to unleash their true potential, so go watch Under the Red Hood, thank you.
With Matt Reeves' upcoming Batman reboot described as a noir thriller, Bruce Wayne and the Joker are locked into an ever-narrowing downward spiral of grittiness and gloom.
In other words, just how Batman's stories are supposed to be.
Joker may well turn out to be great, but it still reiterates a tired old idea of which stories qualify as serious, mature, and sophisticated. As I put it on Twitter, you don't see Warner Bros. Making a nostalgic Lois Lane movie in the style of Nora Ephron. Better to stay in the comfort zone of gritty dramas exploring the damaged psyches of lowly white men, the most overdone genre in Hollywood.
I don't know about you, but I would see a Lois Lane film if it looks good, and that's the Daily Dot. I don't really expect much, but man, that's low. Next take.
If Joker is just another celebration of a toxic, egotistical male justifying his bad behavior, I'm not here for it. You've already met the Joker. He vaped, his favorite book was The Unbearable Lightness of Being, there was music he understood that you just had to listen to, few people understood him, but he picked you.
My god, can you just shut up, writer? What are you even on about? Why is this take so freaking sexist and racist?
And while I'm sure DC's forthcoming film will find its audience, it's hard not to notice that dedicating an entire standalone film to the Joker, and possibly a couple of sequels if it does well enough, contributes to romanticizing one of the most toxic archetypes of pop culture.
It's almost as if the writer doesn't know what fiction is. You're well aware that fiction has romanticized the life of crime for decades now. Almost every Martin Scorsese film is doing this. This has been a thing, writer, and people are doing just fine. Are you implying that the existence of these films will cause an uproar in society or something? I hope that's not what you're suggesting.
To be clear, the Joker is a great villain. There's no denying it. That in itself isn't nefarious. Pop culture has always needed bad guys, and superhero films are the perfect outlet to have a bit of fun with them. But what is harmful with the Joker isn't how bad he is, it's why he's bad. He's either a bitter loser or a misunderstood, tortured soul, or perhaps a bit of both. He wasn't born this way, not completely. It was others who made him like that.
So, making him sympathetic to your average dudes is bad? I mean, I don't really agree with the idea of Joker having an origin story at all, and I want this film to be just one of the stories that he told towards his victims, but what's wrong with making a story that makes him sympathetic?
We are hardwired to respond to that narrative. First, there's something compelling about sad clowns. It's a gimmick that works all too well. But then there's also the fact that so many women have been conditioned to think of toxic behavior as charming and as something that's not their partner's fault. There is something sexy about the Joker. There's a reason why people get tattoos of his face.
Look, writer, I don't know what makes women so attracted to really bad men. That is something that you should consult to Mother Nature. And I don't recall people saying that the Joker was sexy, at least in that trailer. That's just you, writer.
On some level, you want to hold him until the pain goes away. That's the purpose assigned to so many female characters. Be that breath of fresh air in a tortured man's life. Fix him, make him feel seen, make him feel understood. Dedicate your own life to holding him up.
So, in other words, it's bad for female characters to be a supporting role for the main character. Is that what you're trying to say?
But here's the thing, you've already met the Joker, and he wasn't nearly as interesting or attractive in real life. Perhaps you didn't realize he was the Joker because he didn't look like Heath Ledger or Jared Leto. Perhaps he smoked or vaped. Perhaps his favorite book was Infinite Jest, or was it Milan Kunderas' The Unbearable Lightness of Being?
Are you saying that the Joker's sympathetic storyline makes him automatically like your average man? And what's with those really obscure books? I don't really understand the references.
Perhaps he wanted to show you the world. There were books he wanted you to read and music you just had to listen to. Few people understood him. He was trying his best, but the world just seemed to be against him. All he wanted was a special soul who would finally get him. And how lucky were you that he had picked you?
Writer, you sounds like you're talking about Harley Quinn, and you sound like you're projecting.
We all have a bit of the Joker in us. It is tempting to think that our failures are the result of not of our own shortcomings, but of other people's misconceptions. It's a natural defense mechanism, and sometimes it's justified. Who hasn't felt like the Joker at least once over the course of their life?
Oh no, Joker is portrayed as your average man being casted down by society. That's horrible because it feels like your average people. Especially me, the writer of this garbage article.
It's hard to watch the new trailer and not think of at least one instance of childhood bullying. Who hasn't been taunted for standing out? Who hasn't been called a freak or an equivalent insult? If you answered me to any of those questions, feel free to drop me an email. I have about 100 questions for you.
I don't know about you, writer, but I have a feeling that the film is referring to you, and you really don't like that.
But the Joker isn't a child. He's a grown man. And yes, I'm aware that he's fictional, but here's why I still care. When people see themselves on a screen, they feel vindicated. Most of the time, that is a very good...
That's just you, writer. I don't watch films to feel vindicated. I watch films to be entertained. Films are not ways of me to justify the evils that I commit to the world. I don't need the Joker to tell me that I'm justified to post garbage takes on the internet and make people suffer.
But I worry, not to the point that it's keeping me up at night, but still, that some toxic guy will watch this film and think, see, there's nothing wrong with me. There's beauty in my chaos. I am the chaos. I am the beauty. The ends justify the means.
Writer, since you haven't provided an example of a person who thinks this way, the closest person that I can think of is you. So, yeah, stop projecting.
Of course, Joker hasn't even come out yet, so it's too early to judge its portrayal of the title character. There is a possibility that the film will present a fuller picture of the supervillain in a way that doesn't completely glamorize his neurosis. I'll certainly be on the lookout.
Hey... It's really weird. This article is really weird. It feels like throughout the entire thing, the writer is complaining that the film is portraying someone who is relatable and sympathetic, someone who oddly feels like the writer. I have a feeling that this article accurately describes these unique reactions for the new Joker trailer, a bunch of insecure people feeling insecure about themselves, so they air their complaints and how a film about a psycho somehow feels like it's about them. I sometimes wonder who the real psycho in the room is. Maybe the Joker is right. The world is a comedy because people are just clowns.